Hello and welcome to Grody UnPrOfesSiOnAL. My name is Justin McMenamy, and my mission is to share both profitable and painful leadership lessons I have acquired over a 20-year career as a misfit in corporate America. Today, our discussion ranges from authenticity and transparency in leadership to a proper approach to tightrope walking. Mr. Ronco, my friend, I am so glad to have you join us today here for an episode of Grody UnPrOfesSiOnAL.
It's awesome to be here. It's quite an honor. I think it's an honor.
I think you'll find out whether it's an honor or not here in the next little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I would like to believe that it's an honor.
Excellent. I don't know if I told you this or not, but the podcast ratings just recently came out. I didn't know this when I started a podcast. There are ratings for these things. And I received an email that said Grody UnPrOfesSiOnAL has landed in the number one spot for management podcasts in Argentina.
Oh, that's awesome. That's why you brought me here today?
I originally tried to get Messi. He was busy. Yeah. And then I said, okay, well, then I'll go to Mile. He also was busy. But both of them suggested you.
Awesome.
Because you are Argentina's favorite son. Yeah. And also your schedule was wide open.
Yeah, well, yeah, all of those are true. Sending a boat to pick me was not, I think, the right choice. So I think we need to work on the budget.
Yeah, so that's a real part. The budget of Grody UnPrOfesSiOnAL is rather small. And so, it was a boat. Was it a comfortable boat?
Yeah, the rows were good.
Yeah, it was good rowing?
Yeah.
Excellent. Ronco, you and I have spent, I think, about 10 years working together at Precision Planting. You and I have gotten to know each other really well. I'm glad to have you here with me today. One of the stories that goes down in infamy is, I think, maybe one of the first times we met.
The first time.
It was the first time. Okay. I will let you tell your version of the story, and then I'll interlude the realities of the situation as you tell the story.
Okay. So the one thing that I want to say before is that you cannot use your edit rights to cut or change my version.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Okay. So first time that I met you, you were a, let's say, renowned R&D member of Precision Planting. I've heard a couple of things about you. I was like, okay, this guy seems to be interesting, at least to meet once.
Okay.
So we traveled here.
So there was a little reputation that maybe preceded you.
Yeah, a little.
Okay.
At that point. So we traveled here with my colleagues over there in Argentina. Super excited. First trip in the US with the company. We were really hyping. So rent a car. I will add a little context to that. Leo was doing the fuel every time.
Okay.
He was like, I was too lazy. I was sitting on the passenger seat. Leo was driving, doing fuel. I was just waiting there, having a snack, something. So at some point, I get to keep the car to myself. Leo had meetings or something, so I needed to run to another meeting or lunch. I don't remember exactly. So car was running out of fuel. So needed to do fuel for myself.
And was this your first time in the U.S.?
No, that's the funny thing. This was not my first time in the U.S. It was not my first time with a rental car.
Okay.
So I won't say that I was running national here, but I have some experience with rental cars.
Sure.
So go to the gas station. Something was odd with that pump, nozzle, whatever. It was something.
Just a very strange pump.
Yeah, it was a very strange and very, in my sales guy, not technical background, something was very unsecure on how you need to put fuel on those cars. Making the nozzles to combine perfectly.
Got it. Okay. So the engineer had messed up.
Yeah.
Somehow
it was a size issue there that I couldn't figure.
Something with your rental car and this pump that just didn't feel right.
Maybe it was a European car. I don't know. I don't know. So fuel.
Maybe it needed liters instead of gallons.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Something with metric and imperial units.
Conversion problems.
Did fuel 2 seconds. And I was thinking, usually Leo takes much longer to do fuel. And mine was like, that's it.
Did not take very long to fill up.
Nothing. Literally, I felt like I was doing pit stop for Formula 1 or something like that. Okay. Jump into the car, 400 meters, whatever, like half a mile, I don't know. Into the restaurant, stop, have lunch with the precision planting guys there. Leo joined eventually.
Yes.
After his meetings with another car. Everything was fine. Okay, lunch is over. Let's go back to Tremont. We have a couple of meetings with R&D. Okay, Leo, let's go. Do you want to drive? Yeah, I will drive. Like literally, I don't know, 50 yards.
Yeah.
Pop, 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 pop. That's it.
Oh boy.
And Leo, you put diesel on this one. No, Leo. You put diesel on this one. Leo, come on, stop fighting. I didn't put diesel on this one. Give me the ticket. Take out the ticket, full of diesel.
So you filled up a gasoline vehicle.
Exactly. Long story short,
sure.
So.
Not a problem. We can fix this.
Yeah, not at all. So we try to keep going until we get into the National Guard parking lot.
Yes, because next to the restaurant is where the U.S. National Guard.
Yeah. So we managed to put that car into the parking lot, call for help. They pick us up. We needed to be in Tremont for the R&D meeting.
Yeah.
Got there, tell the story to you, basically.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. And your first comment was like, no, that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
You threw yourself under the car with a screwdriver. You puncture the tank. You empty all the diesel. You put something to fix that hole.
Like a cork. Yeah.
Yeah. You put gasoline and that's it. It's like a quick sort of, let's say, purge to that system.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, first time we met, like that's in the National Guard parking lot.
Yeah. The military, they'll be fine with that.
They will fine with a guy, like Latin American guy, wandering under the cars, doing holes on the tanks. They will realize that, this guy must have
diesel in his
diesel
tank.
Issues or he's trying to fix that. Why don't we help him doing some more holes on that tank?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So overall, I don't know if that was a very good presentation.
As I remembered, I had other ideas like siphoning. I had lots of ideas.
Yes.
I was there to help.
Yes.
You were not willing to take any of the ideas.
Yeah, strangely, none of your ideas were used at that point.
That's right.
National pick up the car, give us a new one. They cleaned the old one, didn't charge us anything.
Oh, they didn't charge you?
Nothing. They were super happy to do that. And they gave us a brand new car with gasoline and with a note saying gasoline car on the dashboard.
Yeah. Excellent. So, that is a great story. I'm still quite sad that you did not attempt with a pointy weapon to go underneath vehicles at a National Guard parking lot.
Yeah. Sounds fun, though.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. I didn't have the right clothes to do that.
That makes sense. We've worked together for, I think, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
You born and grew up in Argentina and then have recently relocated to Spain. A lot of your background is in the sales and in the marketing aspect of the business. Precision planting, when you joined, was really nothing in Argentina and nothing in South America. You've been a part of growing the business both in South America and in Europe from very, very small to really very large. And I cherish the stories of that growth and of that birth. One of the first things that I really love talking to guys like yourself, your first 6 or 7 years of your career were in a very large organization, a very established organization. And you chose to jump from the security and the stability of a large established organization into an organization that, for lack of a better term, was kind of a startup. It was very small.
Yeah, it was a startup.
There was no track record. There was no history. There was no processes. Tell me about that transition. What was it for you that you said, man, I want to jump into something crazy out of something that maybe is stable?
Yeah. Well, I think you summarize it very well over there with the no processes, the no formality. And don't get me wrong here. It's not that we were doing monkey business over there. It's like we were up to set up the company for success.
Yes.
So yeah, coming from a big organization, as you mentioned, like a multinational one, super established worldwide, not only in Argentina, leader in what they were doing at that point, people coming to buy from us. We were not creating demand.
Specifically, it was in the seed business.
It was in the seed business.
And every farmer knows they need seed. They have to have seed in order to plant a crop. And so there's not really a lot of action required to generate demand.
No, not at that point. Again, as I mentioned, leader in their category as seed companies. So the other companies were trying to take market from us.
Right.
We were biggest market share.
Yes.
So all that to say, it was super established. Everything was running smoothly. Everything was full of processes and bureaucracy and checks and lists and things. So if you wanted to have whatever, you need to talk with 17 different people and get at least 20 different OKs and approve, I approve, something like that. So that was for me the game changer coming to precision planting. I really like the uncertainty, the things that you cannot foresee way down the road, and build the structures and
some adrenaline, some chaos, some unknowns that need to be tackled.
Absolutely. And doing a little bit of everything. So as you mentioned, I was mostly sales, but at that time, since it was literally a startup, we were 4 of us over there and we were doing everything by ourselves.
Support. Installation.
Technical support, installations, trainings, commercial part, marketing, take farmers to different places and show them the products, prepare all the agri shows over there in Argentina. So basically everything.
Yes.
That gets you a knowledge and a perspective of a business that you won't get anywhere else. Because when I was in sales in the other seed company, I was just doing a very tiny fraction of the business.
And even in that tiny fraction, you didn't have authority or autonomy.
Yeah, you have certain degree of autonomy because I created that for me, because I cannot work. As I mentioned, I like the adrenaline. So I take some of the decisions over there. I call some shots, knowing that someone may be or may not be agreeing with what I did. So in those companies, as long as you bring some results or the expected results, they will let you go with it.
I walked this same journey. As you joined that large company coming out of college, early in your career, did you know that you were a person that liked chaos, liked autonomy, liked risk? Or did you think when you started, I'm starting this 30-year career, this is the safe place, this is what I've been aiming for? What was your mindset going in? And then when did you start to realize that you didn't necessarily fit in that structure?
In all honesty, looking at the Monday morning newspaper, as we say, I should have known that I like chaos, because everything until that point where I got hired by this multinational company in my life was a little chaotic and hectic. All my college, my high school, the things that I like to do, how I find joy in outside education, those kind of things. Everything was a little chaotic. I never was a guy to have everything in place. Everything related to me was little chaos. So now, looking back, I should have known that I wouldn't find myself doing that for a long time.
And what was the process in which you came to that realization? Are there stories from that company where you say, man, I'm going against the grain here?
Yeah. I have a lot of stories I'd rather not share because I may be persecuted for some of those.
Sure.
So,
I mean, being the number one podcast in Argentina, you have to assume.
I need to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But all that to say, I basically broke all the processes and rules that we had in place at that time to make things happen. So at some point after this, 5-6 years, I realized that I cannot keep going like this.
Right.
Because I cannot be like this rogue guy or this going solo, doing whatever I think is best. Everything always was for the sake of the business.
Yes.
Never do nothing illegally, let's say.
Yeah, or just for selfish gain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was never considering my career perspective. I was never a guy thinking about which one will be my next role. I want to climb the corporate ladder. I want to be like junior manager, senior manager. Never. I wanted things get done. I wanted to see how things improve. I think the most important part for me, Justin, was I wanted to see how what I did impacted the company overall, their results, how things were getting better or growing, or you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
So in these companies, it's very hard to do that, to see that.
Yes.
And I think at Precision, I found that if I was putting a lot of my time and my effort into it, things were happening.
Things were done.
Yeah.
I spent a decade inside of a large structured organization. I actually spent a lot of years thinking I was broken.
Yeah, exactly.
I would see people around me that weren't as bothered by these things. They weren't as bothered by the structure, the approvals, the rigor of you can only do it this way, you can't do it that way. And I thought that I was broken for quite some time. it took time before I realized there's another way. And it took even more time, I think, before I realized it's not that one way is right and one way is wrong, but there is a way that is more in tune, more like who I am.
Who I am.
I think you and I have a similar trait, which is to say, I don't desire for my behavior to make you mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Inside of that large structured organization, my most natural behavior made leadership uneasy. It made leadership mad. It made leadership frustrated. I'm not a rogue that I'm proud of making other people angry.
No, at all.
I want to relate to people. I want to help people. There were years for me where I didn't understand why my natural behavior was so much against the grain. And it wasn't until I left that large organization filled with really good people and went to a smaller organization where, like you said, you got to figure it out on the fly. Nobody's ever done this before.
Nope.
Some of these large organizations, these processes were created 50, 100 years ago.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you want to change or you think that something needs some improvement, it will take another 5
Yes.
to make it happen.
Another part of your experience that I'm fascinated with is when you started at Precision Planting, almost no Argentine farmer knew what precision planting was. Almost no Argentine farmer knew the products that Precision had. And so you were there right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
One of the hardest things to negotiate and one of the hardest things to discern, there's this successful playbook happening in America with precision planting. How they talk about their product, how they design their product, how they sell their product, how they support their product. You can't take an exact translation
it's not a copy-paste.
into another country. You can't abandon everything, but you can't do an exact copy-paste. I would love to hear some stories of situations where the right thing to do was to tailor to the Argentine ear or to the Argentine pocketbook. How do you decide what part of the playbook to keep the same and what part of the playbook to change?
Yeah, so that's hard. So we were 4 guys, complete different backgrounds. Most of us, complete different of skills, set of skills. So I think something pretty sweet and unique that happened in Argentina was that we have pretty complementary personalities, skills, and backgrounds. And that's something pretty unique. So we have very smart guys. We have guys that are more tend to the commercial part. We have one guy that had pretty solid agronomic background, being a farmer. That combination of assets, let's say, between the 4 of us made us very aware of the things that may work in Argentina, being directly from the States, and the things that we will need to adjust over there. So, for example, challenging the farmer kind of approach for us was like, this is a must.
Okay.
We cannot go like the other companies selling agriculture equipment out there selling, I will give you an extra 10 discount if you buy from me.
Okay.
So that was not an option for us because no one will come to ask for prices. So we needed to go out there, challenge the status quo, and start reaching out farmers any way possible to get them to know what were their yield-robbing issues in their fields.
Yeah.
So we started to reach as many customers as possible. In the meantime, we drew a plan on how that business will look like and how we can reach more farmers. In parallel, we start building our dealership network over there.
Yeah.
With a lot of learnings as well. We started with the big machinery retailers, and we realized that those were not a good fit, that we needed a more agronomical approach to share that sort of challenge the farmer kind of approach.
How willing culturally is an Argentine farmer to be challenged by a guy walking in his field? Is that culturally acceptable, or is there some nuance that you have to take that approach?
For us, the Argentinians, I think it's a matter of respecting the guy that you have in front of you. But it's a matter of, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. I will give him 10, 20 minutes of my time to see what he has to say. And I think for us, that was very important because we have a very solid technical background on how the products behave, work, adapt, and everything from the R&D side in Argentina. we have this very solid agronomic background from the agronomic side.
Yes.
So we combine those two.
Yeah.
And when you sit with a farmer and the farmer can tell that you are not trying to sell something, that you are trying to make his operation better,
yes,
things change drastically.
You said we weren't trying to sell something. We were trying to share our knowledge.
Yeah.
And we took the approach, I think, in every country that we went to of if a grower comes to one of our events, he may not spend a peso, he may not spend $1, he may not spend anything, but he will get information from that event that he can take and apply today to his operation to make him better.
Yeah. One story that I can share with you is like, obviously, since we were a startup, no one had precision planting over there. So we started with the planter maintenance part. We started talking about, okay, even if you don't have a single precision planting product on your planter, let's talk about how parallel arm wear, opening disc wear, all those kind of things will affect your yield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So farmers were like, okay, this guy is giving me advices on how I can be more profitable without having any kind of his products there. You know what I mean? That changed pretty much the perspective on how things were done in Argentina.
I think in most countries, that's a very unique approach, which is to say, I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to actually teach you towards the purchase of a product that I don't even sell.
And we openly told that to the farmers.
Yes.
So it was not like a subtle approach. It's like, hey, I literally don't care if you buy or you don't buy precision planting, but this is the things that you need to check in your planter now to be more successful next season. Then if it happens that you come back and buy from us, awesome. Otherwise, keep in tune and we will keep sharing these nuggets of information or knowledge that will help you be better.
That's right. As we launched businesses in different regions, we were very conscientious to say the person that you're looking for as the first employee is different than the person you're looking for in the 125th person of the business. As you moved from Argentina to Spain, there were over 35 employees in Argentina.
Yeah.
You were number 1, 2, 3, or 4. How did you see over your years as it went from the first 4 to the 35th? How do you make that transition?
Coming back to the story that we were sharing before, where you want to be in a company where your effort and your time makes the difference and make things happen, realizing that 6, 7 years ago, we were just 4 doing everything, literally everything. Now we have a team of 35 and we have like logistics, operations. We have R&D, product support, sales, inventory. The first thing is like, that's amazing. The proud that I feel about that is like, I think it's one of the things that I cherish the most about that.
Yeah.
Remembering the early days and where we ended up. So now I left, obviously. The business is not the same because I left.
Yeah, of course.
They have their struggles now, but
depending on who you ask, it's gotten better.
I never said it gotten worse. So I was being
just
honest.
Different.
It's just different. No, I'm kidding, but they have an amazing operation over there and things are doing great. For us, the most important part when we grew the team over there was to hire the right people.
Describe the right people.
Whoa.
5'6", black hair.
Yeah.
As you
Green
think about
eyes.
Personalities, what is the right person?
For me, and I think never discussed this one openly with the guys over there.
Yeah.
It was like
they're going to find out right now.
Yeah, they will find. So guys, sorry for the 7th, I think it was, hire that we made. I think for me was, okay, can I connect to this guy? Is this guy being transparent with me?
Yes.
Or he's selling me that corporate approach where, I don't mind working extra hours. I don't mind going the extra mile. But they say it, but they don't feel it. You know what I mean? So for example, when we interview our 5th member, the interview was an asado after Agro Show. So we were in Expo Agro, I think it was, or Agroactiva in Argentina. And Leo came and said, I have this candidate, Mauri. He's an awesome guy. I know him from my previous job. And we're like, we need to interview this guy. Okay, awesome. Bring him to dinner. We are having an asado after a whole day of...
So for the American listener, an asado...
sorry about that. Asado is our barbecue. It's not like a barbecue completely the same.
Yeah, but it's many hours outside, cooking meat, spending time with one another, getting to know one another.
2-3 hours around the grill.
But that was the interview process.
That was the interview process. But I remember he came prepared, like very formal, like this is my interview. And when he got there, we were like 4 guys exhausted after an entire day of doing everything in a farm show.
Yeah.
And now we need to do this asado because then we don't have dinner. So if we don't cook, we don't have dinner. Right. We don't have this like hotel reservation. Yeah. We were staying in a house, Airbnb house.
Yes.
Everything again, super informal. Super informal. So he came, he got the job. But long story short, we always aim to hire the right guys, the right people, the people that you can connect, the people that you feel that they will be side by side by you, having your back. If we need to literally push the extra mile, they will be there for you.
Yeah. Candor falls very high on the list. Another one that as we scaled, and I think you would fall into the same category of looking for empathy.
Yeah.
And by using the word empathy there, what I'm really aiming for is the ability to see a situation from someone else's perspective. Because it doesn't matter how large an organization gets, there should always be a spirit of pursuing the new.
Yeah.
The new idea, pursuing the new scenario. But as you get larger, whether larger means your 5th guy, your 25th guy, or your 1,000th person, there has to also become some structure, right? You said now there's an inventory manager and there's a operations manager. As you get larger, you have to bring in people that are familiar with structure, that even sometimes prefer structure, but they can't become so rigid to structure that they start to lock down the elasticity, the flexibility of the business and start to make it rigorous. In my career, one example is as we were growing the operations building, we needed to have one assembly line that was chaos. It was a brand new product. The supplier would be a little bit late. The parts wouldn't quite fit. Instructions weren't quite right. You had to surround that event with people that were willing to throw everything at it, willing to get it done, willing to get through today, and we'll solve the broader issue tomorrow, but today we got to get through today. That allowed us to go so much faster than a large organization that always has to be right for everything. And then there was this unique thing that 4 feet away, we had to have an assembly line that was running perfectly because that product had been in the market for 5 years or 6 years, and we were selling hundreds of thousands of them. We were selling them to large global OEMs who needed good quality and on time. And it almost didn't matter how big the business got. You were trying to constantly balance the structure with the chaos to the individual, making sure that the individual knew that both people had to exist.
I think one sentence that summarized that, or at least when you get people that says, okay, no, this is not my job, that's very dangerous. I don't want to say that everything is your job, but as long as you can serve others, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can serve others and saying, okay, I will jump into this one and try to put my shoulder on it and help others. And let's make it through. And then we will figure out who should lead this process, who should take more ownership of this other process. But when you have people saying, oh no, this is not my job, that's the point where you get to that rigid state where I'm in my little silo and everything not going through my little silo, I will not do it. I will not take any ownership responsibility. Basically, I will not care.
Yeah.
And when you stop caring, things go south very quick.
The spirit behind that's not my job, if that spirit is I don't care and I won't try, that's a wreck. Yeah. And it's even different between I don't know, but how can I help?
That's a completely different approach. You are showing that you are willing to help, willing to jump into the situation and put your effort into it. And for me, that's awesome because you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. Yeah. Markets will shrink, markets will grow, years will be rainy and year will be more dry. You know what I mean? But if you have that spirit, you will challenge a lot.
As precision has grown, right? You were one of the first 4 to join in Argentina. How does a business grow and add structure and add people who value structure, keep guys like yourself, creative guys, chaos guys, risk-taking guys, guys that pursue growth? How does a company keep guys like you engaged?
That's a very, I don't want to say dangerous, but a very delicate trade-off that companies need to make. You cannot keep running a global corporation as a startup, because at some point it's not a startup anymore.
Right.
It already started.
Yes.
You know what I mean? For these companies, you need to keep a balance between what makes you great and different and unique and having some structure in place. But I think it's a very, very delicate balance where you try to set up certain structures, certain processes in place, and you don't compromise the agility and the flexibility, and you don't trim the wings for guys that are willing to be creative and innovative, because that's what we are, basically. Yes. We are a company full of very creative and innovative people. All that to say, you need to be very careful where you set the lines for those processes, and you leave some room for freedom and willingness to take risk. Or if you're going to put everything under the processes and protocols structure, and you are killing that willingness to risk and freedom thinkers that you may have in the company. So I don't have the answer for that. Otherwise, I will be a vice president for the company.
You use the word balance, and I like the word picture of a person on a tightrope, right? Because that is a balance. And it would be silly for you and I to try to write the instruction manual that guarantees all people can walk across all tightropes by only reading the manual. And so you said it's very difficult to lay out how does a company maintain this balance. It's the same difficulty of you and I trying to write a manual on walking a tightrope. There are principles at play. There are tools that you can use to help. But every second that you are on the tightrope, you are assessing the situation.
Absolutely.
You're assessing the environment. You're assessing the balance, and you're as much reacting. Now, a lot of people like to say that reactive leadership is for poor leaders. Reactive leadership is when you haven't planned ahead. They like to throw that whole context out. In fact, I think that is probably where the creatives, that is where the explorers most live, is to react to the environment in a wise and discerning way.
I like to think that as, let's say, leaders, we are the ones dealing with the company structures and leading our guys, our teams, to be creative and flexible. You know what I mean? So we need to follow the rules. We need to follow some guidelines, but we need to keep that flexibility. And I think a leader role should be that. Should be taking care of all the conversations with the company, taking care of all the processes, taking care of everything, and sort of buffering that to our teams for them to be able to be creative, for them to be able to fly high, for them to take the company to a better place, to a better position. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think that's the main role. There is not much more than that. And then be there for them.
The other way I've heard it described is leaders in these organizations that are trying to be, I've heard it called ambidextrous organizations. I've heard it called hybrid organizations that have the ability to take risk and the ability to establish structure. As a leader, one of the main roles is to love both of those groups equally, even if your personal bent or your personal preference is to one or the other. And one example that is used as Steve Jobs returned to Apple for his second tenure as CEO, he actually took a very different leadership approach at some level. His first tenure ended in some ways because he was himself a creative, and he loved the guys working on the Macintosh. And he made fun of publicly the people working on the Apple II. He made fun of the engineers that were putting the structures in place to sell the current product. And he sat them in different buildings, and he spent all of his time in one building. And you'll see in autobiographies or you'll see in descriptions of Apple that as he comes back, you have a Johnny Ive who is very, very creative, is pushing the boundaries, asking for materials that don't exist, asking for manufacturing processes that don't exist. And then you have a Tim Cook who is the head of manufacturing who has to figure out how to make 1 million of these things in a cost-effective way. And in his second tenure, Steve didn't always vote with Johnny Ive, or he didn't always vote with Tim Cook. He was much better at balancing the structure crowd and his appreciation for their need in the business, as well as the creative crowd.
Yeah, I think that picture exactly what I was trying to tell.
Sure.
But I think it's that. It's not much more than that. Then there is a lot of details and colors and whatever you want to call it to that. But basically, we should be the buffers between the structure part of the company and the creative part of the company. And don't let those two, how you say?
Clash against each other.
Yeah,
that's right. Talk to me about the role of personal relationships inside of your leadership style and inside of your leadership approach.
So for me, personal relationships are way, way too important. And that's coming from our background, our Latin American background. For us, we first build the relationships, then tackle the task. There are other cultures that are task-oriented. So they will sit, no matter who is sitting next to me, let's kill the task. When the task is done, go home. And I don't know almost even your last name. For me, coming from a Latin American culture, building relationships is super important. We will build the relationships if I know that you trust me, I trust you, you have my back, let's go and let's conquer the world. What I'm trying to do constantly is like build those bridges. With some people it's easier because you connect on different levels and those bridges are like almost there instantly. With other people, it's a little harder because you don't have many points of contact or affinity or whatever you want to call it. So you need to work a little extra harder. The difference that I saw, this is not necessarily a good or a bad thing, it's just different. In Argentina, being the same culture and having that same background was super easy to build those relationships. And we were all on board almost instantly. When we met each other, we start sharing time together, having the families together, spending time together. Like, you know what I mean? Was like basically we were friends. And then we were co-workers. Being in Europe now, where we have like a lot of different cultures, a lot of different languages, a lot of different backgrounds, those relationships sometimes, I'm not saying every time, sometimes are a little harder to build.
That's your aim, though, is to build a relationship.
I cannot work in a place where I don't want to build relationships with people, and I cannot work in a place where I'm not having fun. So if I'm not having fun, I'm out. That's it. The day I'm not having fun in what I do, don't take it the wrong way. I'm not that naive that I will say, oh, I love doing expense reports.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So
you and I are the same in this. The fun is most had with the people.
Absolutely.
It could almost be any industry. It could almost be any customer, but it could not be almost any coworker.
No.
It's the people that you interact with that is really the main domain where fun or drudgery is defined.
Because I have no issues showing myself silly or vulnerable or whatever by making jokes. I don't want to be this super high tier or high level corporate guy, super serious that will show you how the world works and has all the answers. I have no issues at all saying, I don't know, let me get the answer for you. I have no issues saying, I have no idea, or let's go to find the answer together. Leadership shouldn't be constructed out of fear or putting differences or walls or saying, I am the senior or whatever manager. Or for me, titles were never a thing. Never. If I respected you or if I admire you, as I did in the past at least, when you were at Precision Planting, it was not because you are like R&D lead. It was because you are Justin. I trusted you. I really think that you are very smart, and I respect you for that, not for the role at the end of your email signature. You know what I mean? And that's
I don't think I ever put my title in my email signature. I you mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if I will follow you, I will follow you because I respect you, and I respect you as a person, as a professional. I don't care about your title.
sales in many ways is a form of leadership for the customer, because they don't report to you. They can say no, and it has no cost to them whatsoever. Sales is actually this very interesting exercise in learning how to lead without authority. You've interacted with 50 companies, OEMs that sell planters globally, and you've done really well at influencing without authority. If there was a person that was listening and said, man, I want to grow in my ability to influence without authority, what would you tell that person?
Yeah, so I think we have at least 1,000 people listening, not one. So let's try to aim for those 1,000. For me, it was always a matter of being authentic and empathetic and transparent. I truly believe that what I was bringing to you, being an OEM, being a farmer, being a dealer, it will add value. Different levels, in different ways, but it will add value to you. I truly believed what I was doing will improve your operation, or will improve your benefits, or will improve your life. With that being said, I don't mind, again, showing myself transparent or like authentic, saying, hey, this one will help you this way, this way, this way. You can start like this or like that. You know what I mean? Not try to be that used car salesman that you will buy from me.
You have a goal that you're willing to get to, no matter how
exactly.
it affects
and this
the other
guy
person.
will buy from me because I will torture him, calling and going after him. And for me, it's not like that. So the thing is, you need to trust the things that you are trying to sell. You need to believe in what you are selling. I believe in that seed company because besides being a multinational corporation, they have very good products. And then when I switched to precision planting, well, they have awesome products. So for me, it was not a matter of, okay, I need to sell this Duna Fundido, as one will say, but how like this broken car.
Yes.
So it's like a matter of how can I share what I feel about these products that I have to this guy that is in front of me.
It's interesting. Naively, early in my career, I thought, well, leadership is one category, engineering is one category, sales is one category. Leadership overlays all of those categories. One time I was sitting across the table from one of the salesmen from our company, and we were talking about a specific product. And I said, I think we should position it this way. I think maybe we talk about it that way. And his reply to me was, well, that's interesting coming from a person who's never sold anything. And I just asked him, I said, well, what do you think I do all day? I'm in the business of selling ideas. As a leader, if you're an authoritarian leader, you don't have to sell your ideas. You just say them and people either follow them or face the consequences. But in a true inspirational leader that people want to follow, there's a lot of sales that goes into it. There's a lot of being authentic. There's a lot of being transparent. There's a lot of understanding the perspective of the person sitting across the table and positioning the idea in a way that is beneficial to them. Not just positioning the idea, but actually positioning the implementation in a way that is beneficial to them. For me, I wish I would have had more maybe sales experience in my background, because I just missed the connection of how rich that experience would be into developing as a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And alongside those words, our best sales guys are the ones with a decent to solid technical background. Guys that really understand what they have and know, okay, I have all this knowledge about what I'm selling. It's very easy for me to see how any of all of this that I know will fit into your reality as a buyer.
Yes.
So I'm like offering what really adds to your our reality.
It's about knowing what's important
to you, not for me.
That's right. You mentioned that you had recently moved from Argentina. You and your family relocated to Spain. What other aspects of business have you come into that are different from maybe South American view to Obviously, Europe is comprised of many cultures, many nations, many backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
What have you experienced different moving from Argentina to Europe?
Yeah, that one is a tricky one. As
Sure.
you mentioned, Europe is a continent.
Yes, not a country.
Not a country.
That's right.
So we have parts of Europe that are more related to the Argentinian.
Yeah, so that would be your Italians, your Spaniards, Portuguese.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have other countries that have a complete different reality and things need to work in a different way. So it has been a huge learning process for the last 4 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And it will continue to be a huge learning curve that I will need to go through if I want to be at least a good leader for our team.
Have you had to adapt any of your leadership style for cultures like the Germans or the Nordics or the English that are different in how they think or how they approach business?
So I will answer that one, and I will add a side note as well. I mentioned that for me, it's about being authentic.
Yes.
So I didn't change anything. That's the answer.
Yes.
The side note is like, I don't know how that's working.
I need to interview them.
Yeah, you should do a podcast with all of them here and get some feedback. So no, all that to say is like, no, I don't change much. I try to be myself. I try to be authentic and empathetic with them. And I think you can connect from that side besides the cultural differences. I'm not changing.
Yeah.
And the good part, and I won't say any names, but I'm getting some very good feedback from our guys. Related to your comment a couple of minutes ago, I don't want that to end. Yeah. I want them to be able to share anything I might be doing wrong. I might do differently, even the things that I'm doing good that they like. So I don't want that to end at any point. For me, getting feedback from them, being some of them from cultures where it's very important, this orchard, and you are not supposed to
break
challenge or give feedback to your superior. So coming from those places, I really, really cherish and appreciate those feedbacks.
I sent a note to some of your friends and I asked them what questions I should ask you on the podcast.
Wait, those were friends?
Are you
sure?
Out. Okay. We'll find out if they're your friends. So one person said that you need to share some of your legendary stories about using snoring as a form of entertainment.
Okay. I may have a couple of stories about snoring.
Okay.
I may build a reputation about snoring, not to share a room with anyone else.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is, little context here for all of our European and maybe Australian listeners.
Sure.
Typically, what I found out is like in Europe, they do not share rooms. So if we have this business trip and we are 10 of us, those are like 10 rooms.
Yes.
In the other hand, Latin Americans.
That's one room.
Maybe two rooms.
Sure.
But we will pile there.
Okay. And that's not just for saving money. That's cultural.
That's being, that's being
part
close,
of being authentic,
close to people.
Being,
yeah. That's being like, we are sharing everything.
Okay.
Sharing the good parts, the bad parts, and the room.
And that would be not just in startup companies, but also in larger companies.
Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I don't know if you get into, again, vice president. I would assume that vice president, because we have only one per company, maybe they will have their own room.
They get their own room.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have two, maybe they will share. So the thing is, snoring became quite a tragedy for my fellows cohabitants of that room.
Okay.
To the point where Nicolas Pisicini, for example, threw me a lamp from one bed to the other. That lamp had no effect in me.
No.
It was like a little fly.
Yes.
And I keep snoring and sleeping. And I can tell, and I still today, I can remember, even if that was like 10 years ago, I can still remember Nicolas Pisicini, the next breakfast, kinda annoyed.
About the snoring. Okay.
Just kinda.
Just slightly.
Slightly.
Have you ever faked snoring?
No, not at that point. I didn't have the need.
But now you get your own room? Is that what ends up as a result?
No, I'm not snoring that much. I was a little overweight at that point.
Gotcha.
Now I'm overweight, but a little less.
Yes, okay.
So at that point, I was snoring like a whale that it's about to die. So,
sure, or chainsaw is another.
Chainsaw as well. So it was quite loud.
Another one.
Sorry, do I get the names of the people sending these questions so I can thank them later or something?
Probably. Yeah,
Okay.
probably. So another question was that you live life like you drive your truck.
Yes. Well, getting back to the rules and need and having everything neat, my truck, so I think you can cultivate something on the passenger's seat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of organic material.
Yeah, dirt, mostly food,
Okay.
remains. So yeah, I don't take pride. I take a lot of pride of my vehicles because they will take me everywhere.
Yes.
Very fast.
Yes.
I don't keep them as clean as they should. And I used to drive. Now in Spain, in Europe,
A lot of cameras.
lot of cameras, highways, lot of people involved. So I don't want to put anyone in danger.
Sure.
In Argentina, when you have the entire road for yourself,
Yes.
4 a.m. in the morning, I will go a little faster over the...
So I was supposed to follow that question with how did the truck die?
My truck has a nickname and it's called La Potranca. La Potranca is a female horse that is completely unmanageable.
Okay.
So you cannot ride. It will be a horse that you jump into it and 2 seconds later
Maybe a Mustang.
it will be a female Mustang
Okay.
because we call it like that.
Okay.
So that truck has almost no tires in it, like completely plain tires,
Okay.
like no drawing at all on those wheels.
Okay.
Had some-
Bald.
Bolt exactly. Bolt had some direction issues like alignment, so it will tend to go wherever
Yeah.
she wanted.
Yeah.
And I will drive. I will not call any numbers, but I will drive that thing super fast. So all that to say, when I surrendered that truck because I was moving to Spain, one fellow coworker that was recently hired took that pickup truck. That truck died by exploding the engine in the middle of the road. So she went away with honors.
Wow.
And in her game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she didn't die in a crash. She didn't die falling for a cliff or with a meteor hitting it.
Just exploded.
Literally the motor said, that's it. Enough.
Excellent. Excellent. Ronco, it's been so good to spend time talking with you. It's great to see you. Good to have you come all the way to Illinois just simply to sit down with me and talk.
Using the boat, no issues.
Yeah. I think the boat will be heading back soon. So
now?
No, probably not now.
Can I hit the restroom?
You got time for the restroom.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. It was awesome to share time with you. Every time that I get to interact or see you is awesome. I'm super happy to be here. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Ronco, great to see you.
Hey, great to see you too.
For anyone that would like to send comments, accolades, or gifts in kind, you can reach me via my email, justin@grody.io. If you are a member of the Peoria Air National Guard and have been searching for the guys abandoning rental cars in your parking lot, you are looking for Juan Roncoroni and Leo Salotti from 342 Gravel Pit Terrace in the town of Bedrock. Thanks for your time. Let's do it again soon.